Hi, welcome. I'm Mary and I hook books. I crochet projects inspired by audiobooks. And this is going to be my April wrap up. And I have to say, I have been in a slump the last few weeks, which is why this video is late. It's why the beginning of the month I read a lot, and then the end of the month was kind of a bust. And right now they're doing construction right outside, so I have my headphones in, hoping that that will keep down the background noise, but also it usually means you hear more of like me moving and rustling. So we're just gonna do the best we can today and all of the next few weeks. Unfortunately, this month started a little bit rough as well. It never really got that great. My average for the month was a 3.5. So it started with a DNF of no happy endings, and I just was not in a great place for that. So maybe someone else, maybe at a different time, but it just kind of made me sad instead of inspired. So I put that one down. But then I also was reading Clean Sweep, the second book in the series, Sweep in Peace by Ilona Andrews, and that one I really liked. I like the science fiction and fantasy elements being combined in a really neat, unique way. So I gave that one 3.5, and I do plan to continue the series. Libby only had the first 3 books, so I thought it was a trilogy, but Hoopla has 4, 5, and 6. So I am excited to see where this series goes. It's not amazing literature, but it's really fun. So, Sweep in Peace. I made a little peace sign that I probably will have to block if I want it to stay in place. I read The Very First Damn Thing by Jodi Taylor, and I was disappointed. It was okay, but St. Mary's usually has so much charm, and this just didn't bring that. So I gave that one a 2.75. And then I read Love Lucy, which is Lucille Ball's lost memoir, and it was so good. I didn't know that much about Lucy before the I Love Lucy show, so it was really cool getting her perspective when she was in high school and when she first met Desi and their relationship, and 4.5, I really enjoyed it. Then I listened to Rapture Season by Eric Micah Holmes, and this had so many elements I really should have enjoyed. But I just didn't. I didn't like the characters, I didn't get sucked into the story, so I gave that 2 stars. And then I read The Wastelands by Stephen King. This is the 3rd book in the Dark Tower series, and I thought this one was the best one so far. I still only gave it 3 stars, but my morbid curiosity just kept me going. And riddles are a big part of this book. And when is a door not a door? When it's a jar. So I made a crochet jar topper. And then, quite unfortunately, I started the 4th book, Wizard in Glass. And I normally love a backstory, but the extended flashback just bored me, and this book is so long. So I DNF'd the 4th book in the series. My curiosity for where it was going to go could not carry me through. Maybe later, but I already had so many other loans from Libby coming in that I didn't have time to waste on something that I wasn't loving. Then I read Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister, and this one I really liked. The time travel element was different, the mystery unfolded in a really intriguing way that just kept me guessing. So I gave that one 4.5 stars, and I thought it was a time loop. So I made another infinity scarf with this beautiful big twist twinkle yarn and a matching headband as well. I listened to a Great Courses lecture series by Laird called Life in Our Universe. And if you're going to listen to this one, I would get the video series from Hoopla from the library. It is a little bit older, but it's really neat. So 3.5. I read Eversion by Alastair Reynolds, and I am still looking for something else that's really good by Alastair Reynolds. This was a little bit too slow for me. By the time we got to the good parts, I was already kind of over it. So 3.5, it was okay, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. And I made for Eversion my invertible octopus, and I should probably leave him on Angry Octopus while I film and while they're doing construction. I read Fed Up, Emotional Labor, Women and the Way Forward by Gemma Hartley, and I liked this. It really did help me realize just how much emotional labor I personally put in that I didn't even really think about, because I did fall for the myth that it's just supposed to be natural and part of your personality, and if it's not, there's something wrong with you. And that was very useful to me. Her ways forward weren't all that helpful to me personally, so I would like more of that, but the uncovering and the history of how we look at emotional labor was really interesting, so I gave it a 4-star. I'm starting to think they're going to be at this all morning, so we might have to do part 2. They're still talking, but hopefully you can't hear that as much as the sawing. So the next book that I read, I really enjoyed. It was the second book in the Thursday Murder Club series, The Man Who Died Twice, and I love these characters so much. And the plot in this one was really good too. It was a little convoluted, but it was still really fun. So I gave that 4.75. It's not a perfect 5-star, but I really enjoyed it. And for the little fox on those covers, I made a pocket fox. And I listened to Euphoria by Lily King, and this is a big disappointment for me. At the end, I was like, why? Why does this book exist? And I get it, why it exists. It just, I didn't like it. The ending ruined everything for me. So 2.25. And I made, for their love triangle, I made a triangle market bag, which I like a lot more than I liked the book. And then I read Lovecraft Country by Adam Ruff, and I liked this one. I think I honestly liked this show better, but I still ended up giving it a 3.75. It was really good, and I do plan to read the sequel when I can get my hands on it to figure out where they were going to go with it. And for that, I made another little baby Cthulhu. Even though Cthulhu was not in the book, it was the most Lovecraftian thing I could figure out. And I would just like to say, if you are someone that's like, why don't my projects ever turn out exactly the way that the pattern says they should, these two are made with the same hook size, the same pattern, but this one was made with red Hart yarn, and this one was made with Big Twist, which are both medium worsted weight size 4 yarns. So it could be your yarn why your projects don't come out quite the same as the pattern says that they should. And I know a lot of patterns use very specific types of yarn, so it can be very frustrating when you're like, oh, this is basically equivalent, and then it doesn't turn out quite right. I still like both of these guys. It's like a baby Cthulhu and a little baby Cthulhu. I listened to Battle Cry of the Siamese Kitten, and this was cute. It's by Philip Schott, a veterinarian, and if you like the James Herriot show or books, this would be fun. It's not exactly the same, it's more modernized, and he does talk about having to deal with COVID in the veterinary world. But I gave it a 3.75. I would recommend it for a nice Saturday afternoon. And I read the Undertaking of Hart and Mercy, and this was cute. I'm not usually a romance reader, and this was kind of a mix of romance and cozy fantasy, which really worked for me. And I liked their relationship. It was very sex positive, it was very sweet, and I really enjoyed it, surprisingly. So 3.75, and I made another Love You to Death heart for them. It just seemed so appropriate. And then I read Luster by Raven Leilani, and this did not inspire anything except for dread and horror. I think this is technically classified as literary fiction. I would say it's domestic horror personally. I did not really like it, but it was well done, so I still gave it a 3.5. I can see what it was going for, and it really talked about the horrors of being a woman millennial, and especially a woman of color in our world right now. I understand why they added the dimension of being a third person in a white marriage. I just didn't like how it was done. And if you want to learn about relationship choice in a positive way, please visit Loving More and support them. And learn about ethical non monogamy and how to love more than one person. But 3.5 because it was really well written and I understand what it was going for. I just personally was horrified by it. My last really successful read of the month was The Space. So, trying to film between construction noises is basically turning this into a get ready with me video because I have to go to work soon. So, surprise to everybody, bonus content, I guess. My last successful read of the month was The Space Between by Micaiah Johnson, and this was really cool on so many different levels. We had some very casual non-binary representation, some black queer representation. We had some really interesting conversations about the cycle of abuse, about classism and the class struggle in a sci fi context, which always makes it a lot more palatable for me. And I really enjoy how sci fi really explores those things without making it hit too close to home to the point that you don't want to engage with it because it's too painful. So I really enjoy when a book can do that successfully, and this one really did. So it had its problems, but I gave it a 4.25. I really enjoyed it and I would recommend it. And I found this, again, twinkly yarn. I guess that's my theme for this year is sparkly yarn, and I made a scarf. It's similar colors to the cover of the book, and it has lots of space between the stitches as she talks about the space between stars. So, my current reads, I'm 78% of the way through The Gay Revolution by Lillian Faderman, and I really am enjoying it. It's really long. And there's a lot of things that I didn't realize the context of. And being from Colorado, I didn't realize how big of a role the courts in Colorado actually did play in the gay rights struggle. So that's really interesting. I'm enjoying it so far. I have some other things that are on my TBR for May, so it might have to take a back seat, but I am really enjoying it. And then my current read is Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors by Sonali Dev, and I'm 60% of the way through that, and I'm not enjoying it as much as I enjoyed the second book in the series. I thought the second book in the series was a standalone at first, and then I found out it was the second book in a series. I'm glad that I started with the second one, because if I had started with the first one, I might not have even continued or finished. But I am enjoying it. It's just a lot, and it's a lot of backstory on this family that they didn't need in the second book. I have some things that I finished for the Hope Center, so I will get some pictures of those and put those up on the screen, hopefully. And I am going to be working 6 days a week through probably most of the summer, so I won't have as much time to upload, but I will still try to share my crochet positivity with you guys, and I will still try to read and crochet as much as I can, because that's my self-care. And I hope that you remember to take time for your own self-care. Remember, keep your heart open, your shoulders back, breathe, and keep your head up.